Come, let me show you how to fill gaps on plastic models. Welcome back, collectors! So there are many ways to fill gaps on plastic models. You can use epoxy green stuff or liquid green stuff. I personally use Vallejo Plastic Putty because it's water soluble. I'm going to take you through some of my steps of gap filling to make sure that the gap is as minimal as possible so that we can proceed to painting. It's always a huge frustration to be filling gaps after your painting because it messes up your paintwork, but let's get to it. So what you will need is Vallejo Plastic Putty, a bit of cardboard to put the plastic putty on, and a normal brush. Please don't use a sable brush for this because it's very damaging. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to squeeze the Vallejo Plastic Putty on the cardboard. Use it like a little palette. Just a little bit will do, you don't need too much. And I'm going to add a bit of water to dilute it. The good thing about Vallejo Plastic Putty is that you can dilute it with water and it makes it more flowy. Okay, so we're going to start filling the gaps. So do this perpendicular to the gap. This allows the diluted plastic putty to flow into the gap as best as possible. Okay, you will need to do this several times because plastic putty tends to shrink after it's dried. Okay, I'm going to just use water to clean up the excess on the sides. So when you're cleaning up the excess, you just want to do it in a parallel fashion rather than a perpendicular fashion, okay? So you got to do this several times. When filling the gaps, I'd like to re-emphasize we're going to do it in a perpendicular fashion, as seen here. Perpendicular, again, do this liberally. Short strokes I find more efficient rather than one long stroke, okay? And then with water, you just want to clean up the excess on the sides again because the excess tends to build up on the sides. Okay, as Duncan likes to say, do this in 2 thin coats and we can proceed on to the next step really soon. In the next step, we're going to use a bit of sanding sponge. I like to use the sanding sponge because the sanding sponge allows me to sand down organic areas. So I like to fold it into half and sand it perpendicular to the gap. You can use a grit of about 60 to 80 is fine. So what you want to do is you want to sand it down so that you see the grey plastic and the gap very clearly. Because what this means is that the gap is fully sanded down and that every single bit of excess is now flush with the gap. Okay, do this really slowly. There's no need to rush because if you rush, you might send off some key details. This area is particularly easy to sand because it's easy access. But for smaller areas, what I like to do is I might use a sharp knife. And just like how you clear the mold line, I would clear the gap as a mold line. Okay. Now I'm just doing the final details, just roughing it out slightly so that you can see very clearly where the gap is. As you can see, the gap is not usually even. Some areas of the gaps are bigger than the other areas. So you just got to slowly sand it down and make sure that as little excess is out of the gap as possible. Okay, so those are my top tips for filling gaps in miniatures. So here are some reminders that you will need to know. First, always fill gaps perpendicular to the gap and always clean parallel to the gap. Secondly, use a sanding sponge because it allows you to clean organic shapes rather than having a knife run over and make the area flat. So I hope you found this video useful. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe and comment below. And if you really want to support us, please sign up for our Patreon. Patreon keeps me alive and keeps me producing awesome content like this. I hope to see you in the next video in priming. See you!